Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, episode 31 of the Mystery Reviews. Yeah, this one was an easier one for some people to guess. If you really know your movies, you know that the hints were Renaissance and animatronics. So, yeah, this movie, and then I gave the bonus hint Elias Koteas. And the final hint was, you dirty rat. So if you haven't been able to guess, it is, in fact, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which was done in released in 1990 from New Line Cinema, starring Elias Koteas, Judith Hogue, and the voice talents of Josh Paez as Raphael, Brian Tochi as Leo, Robbie Rist as Michelangelo, Corey Feldman as Donatello, with James Saito as Shredder, and they used Dave McCarn as his voice, Toshiro Obata as Tatsu, and using Michael McConaughey as his voice. The movie is a pretty live-action adaptation of the cartoon, darker themed and PG rated. And that is actually one thing that I do like about this one, because they weren't afraid to go into the more adult themed areas. Nothing sexual, but still they actually have a damn count. Or for those of you who've seen this movie, you hear words like damn and whatnot. I mean, Raphael is pretty much damning throughout the damn movie. But yeah, this movie is one that I saw in theaters, absolutely loved watching because I was a fan of the cartoon when I was a kid. It's just a movie that I enjoy. Even nowadays, you can watch it, yeah, with a more critical eye and analytical eye. You could see the flaws here and there, but for the most part, this movie is pretty solid. I mean, only if you're really paying attention do you notice that there are some things that could really be not up to snuff. And it looks like my first comment in the comment section is a bot, so I'm going to block that user. I do not accept any bots in the comment section at this time. Also, please feel free to share the stream out, or leave a like while you're viewing. I appreciate all support. Hoping everybody is having a wonderful day and a happy new year. Betty White took 2021 down with her and hopefully saved us all, because 2022 will hopefully be better. I am absolutely hoping so. But yes, feel free to share the stream out and leave a like, comment your thoughts. And with that, let's get into this review. The movie begins with a screen grabs in New York City circa 1989 and 1990. The Twin Towers are still up. And I gotta say, I absolutely love that shot that shows the sprawling image of the Twin Towers. I missed looking at the New York skyline with the Twin Towers. 21 years almost, or this September. But anyway, then we go down to the bustling and crime-ridden streets of Manhattan and New York, and you hear the narration of April O'Neil reporting on the massive crime wave that is going through New York City. And while this is happening, you see a pickpocket take a wallet out of a person's pocket, and walking around, it passes several hands before being retrieved by a foot soldier or a ninja hand. You actually see the Dan Blackroy. Good to see you. You actually see the ninja armament that they have on themselves. And then you see the kid, who you think is just some ordinary kid, until later on you realize that it's actually, or he actually has a bigger role in the story. First comment is a troll. Yeah, I know, right? And I blocked that user, so hopefully they will be blocked. So yes, Dan Blackroy, good to see you. Turtle Power, indeed, dude. First comment is troll. Yeah, good to see you, Junebug. And this ain't no cartoon. No, this one isn't. It's a lot more serious themed, and that is one of the things I absolutely love about this film is that it is complete or it is more grounded in reality. I mean, yes, there is a bit of mysticism in it, and for obvious reasons, there's some wackiness of how somehow turtles are like human sized and whatnot. But aside from that, yeah. So while this is going on, you also see, or there's a great way of showing how silent and quick the thefts are. They call it the silent crime wave. And you see this delivery truck where this guy is making a delivery. The 9 seconds between the time the delivery truck is fully off screen and when he returns back, everything is gone in his truck. They actually do a very good job at conveying all of this. The old lady getting her TV taken rather swiftly too, where she just turned, boom, TV's gone. You actually see the TV get taken, and then she turns and she's like, what the heck? And you see that she catches a kid running away. And that's when April is actually saying, mostly just teen, or most of the reports are obscure, saying that teens are the ones running away with all the stuff, kids, essentially. And then you see that these kids are all giving foot soldiers who are dressed up as ninjas, the foot soldiers, in a van, and these kids are running off, and you see them run or drive off. And you also see the kids going to a warehouse in Staten Island where you see Tatsu overseeing the spoils being cut open from the boxes and kids using them. So then we get to April leaving her work and walking straight into a mugging where kids are. Damn it. Hurt my finger. But yeah, where kids are basically robbing the place. Bad timing, you're telling me. And they try mugging her, but then you hear this, and then you see a sigh break the light above them. And then you hear the sounds of the scuffle and the turtles kicking ass, and then you hear one go, whoa! Basically Michelangelo. And just as soon as the lights roll up, you see the muggers are tied up, and April's like, what? And you then see Raphael looking at her from the from the manhole cover. He's looking, and she sees or notices the sigh where she takes the sigh. He's like, oh man. And then she puts it in her bag. Damn count one from Raphael, who watches. And then we get introduced to the title intro. And the score is actually very well done in this movie. It's really energetic, pepped up, and whatnot. And you eventually hear the turtles as you see the camera going through the sewers and whatnot. It's very cool. You see them in shadow first. Now, one thing you will notice if you have an analytical eye is that the mouth movement of the turtles obviously does not match the movement of what they're saying because they are animatronics. Riot, good to see you. I've been working on getting your watch time up. Hopefully it helps. Judith Hogue, swing. Yeah, indeed, dude. She was extremely hot back then. She still is hot if you really pay, or because I saw her in I Am Number 4, and she actually hasn't lost her looks very much, or to be all that honest. But yeah, Judith Hogue still a great looker. So yes, you see the turtles first in shadow, and then they jump in the screen as they do the title intro with the action movement of the title of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Amelia Skywalker, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. So yes, and you see how they're doing a celebratory talking, dudes, dudettes, major butt kicking's back in town. Paige Turco, swing. Yeah, unfortunately they couldn't get Judith Hogue back, but still, Paige Turco was pretty good too. But I actually did like Judith Hogue better. She was a redhead, and she'd pulled off the yellow raincoat pretty well. So yeah, she did a good job at it. It was more gritty in this one, and I liked how it was more gritty. So you then hear Donatello, Bossa Nova, Michelangelo and Leonardo, Bossa Nova, Chevy Nova, and then he's like, excellent, and they all celebrating. But you see Raphael, he's just kind of really just right now, he's just really frustrated, and then he looks up at his one side, damn count number 2. So they get in and they're like, we kicked some serious tail Master Splinter. There were many, but we kicked. Then they notice, well, Master Splinter is very stoic. We fought well. Were you seeing? Mm-mm. And then he goes on his lessons to them. And I do like how when Master Splinter is telling them that they have to remain focused and that there may come a time where he's not there, Michelangelo is ordering a freaking pizza. And it's like, you put anchovies on this thing, you're in big trouble. Okay, and he throws a book at him. The one thing that they did very well was the animatronics in this film. You get that you see the mouths moving. You hear the voices or the voice work. The actors did great jobs. And just so you guys know, when it's the actors who are talking or the characters who are talking, they can't see. So when they're doing most of their work, they have to do it blind, unless it's the fight scenes where you see them or where you see them doing certain moves. That's when it's puppet heads and you're not seeing too much of the mouth movement. And thanks, Orange. I was up like 17 hours. Good to hear. I've actually never watched this specific version. Oh, you have got to see it, right? It is great. And during the scene, you also hear Raphael. He's like, I lost the side, then it is gone. But I can get it back. And you see how Donatello's trying to comfort his brother because the weapon is important to Raphael, you know? And Raphael's too angry, and he's like, or he pushes off Donatello, and Donatello pushes back. And just a small little hey is enough to get them to stop. And so he tries to get them to meditate, but then you hear freaking I can't remember what it's called. But it was a song that they started playing. That one. And freaking Michelangelo and Donatello are just dancing to it, and you see Splinter like, oh, and they're like, well, this is kind of like meditating. Corey Feldman's best acting performance. Yeah, we're talking about the live action version from the 90s. Yes, that one. I kind of didn't exist yet. Well, that doesn't mean you can't delve back before your time to watch movies, you know? But yes. This movie is truly great. Even back then it was. And I remember when I saw this movie in theaters, and when I saw it in theater or on tape, when I got the VHS of this movie, I remember the Pizza Hut commercial, because you have to have a pizza commercial when it comes to a movie like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it's this kid playing baseball or a little league baseball, and they're singing a song. And then he looks up and is like, hey, all of a sudden, everybody's looking at me. They point to the sky, and I look up above, and a baseball falls into my glove. And it's just so great. The song that they played, I will have to look for it. Baseball Pizza Hut commercial. You know what? I'm actually going to try looking for it right now. And then I'll leave the link in the chat. Because this was back when Pizza Hut commercials were truly something to really enjoy watching. And let's see here. Little League Pizza Hut commercial. Yep, this is it. From Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles VHS. Yep. And I can't play it, so pause, share. But yeah, I can remember every part about it. Hey, Orange, and I was a big fan of TMT back then, but grew out of it when everyone kept picking on me about it. Yeah, I met along. A lot of people did stupid shit back then. So this is the commercial. It is truly, it's a nostalgic commercial. I really love it. And because it kind of reminded me of one of my games when I was having a hard, or when I actually had to catch the ball and whatnot. So yeah, it does actually remind you of certain stuff later on, you know? So then Raphael goes out to catch a movie, and Leo's like, hey, Raph, where are you going? Out to a movie. That okay with you? Sure. And then you see freaking Donatello and Michelangelo still dancing to it, and he's like, suck it to me, baby. It's just fucking hilarious. So we then see Donnie riding through the sewer on his skateboard. And he's got some pretty gnarly moves. You only see his legs and whatnot. And I'm guessing it's because they didn't have the full suit on while doing it so that they could. I'm watching something kind of screwed up, so it's good contrast with the TMNT. Yeah. What are you watching then, Riot? But yeah. So then you see him meet up with Michelangelo, and he's like, "Hi, Mikey, let me ask you something." Because he's like, Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds. He's like, you know what Splinter was saying? What do you think about that? You know, not having him. Time's up. $3 off. Mikey does, or that's a good deflection because you know that Mikey's not thinking much about it, and he doesn't think that that will ever really be a thing, you know? Nobody ever wants to grow up without their father. It's a good, or it's a hard lesson that when you got to either leave the nest or when you're forced to really leave the nest. So then we get the delivery guy, and he's like, 122 and an eighth, 122 and an eighth. Terrific. Where's 122 and an eighth? You're standing on it, dude. And he's like, what the? Just slip it down here. And he starts slipping the pizza into the server. He's like, give me that. Hey, this is a 10. The tab's 13. You're 2 minutes late, dude. Oh, come on. I couldn't find the place. Wise men say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza. I got to get a new route. And I thought I delivered everywhere. It's just truly wonderful how that happens because freaking Michelangelo, he's like, oh my God, dude, seriously? So, then we get the Turbo Ginsu because he's like, yes, friends, it's the new Turbo Ginsu. It slices, it dices, it makes French fries in 30 different. And you see how Raphael's swinging his swords. And then you see one of the slices land on Splinter's head, and he's like, whoops. Kids. And they're just enjoying their pizza. Yep. And you are watching Anahana, the flower we saw the day, episode 10. Nice. One of the guys in the friend group wanted to reenact the first time they were all together before one of the girls in the group died. Oh, yikes. So yeah, forgiveness is pizza. You know, that's one way to get forgiveness. So we then see Raphael coming out of Critters. The movie Critters is playing in the theaters. And he has a run-in with some punks because they steal a purse and they start running. He trips them up. And one of the punks throws the purse back because he's getting tripped. And the guy next to the woman catches it, and she's like, whoa. And then he turns to the boys and shows them the sign, and the boys start running. Well, then Casey Jones comes in. He's like, now that was a crime, you purse-grubbing pukes. And this is the penalties. And he smacks one of them with the hockey stick. And he's like, 2 minutes for slicing. Trips up 1, 2 minutes for hooking. Now let's not forget my personal favorite, 2 minutes for high sticking. And that's when Raphael pushes him down. He's like, how about 5 minutes misconduct for roughing, pal? He's like, hey, bogey, this is my fight. These juvie lowlives need to be taught a lesson. Not like that, they don't. Not from you. And the two punks run off, and he's like, okay, boy, time for a new game. It's class is Pain 101. Your instructor's Casey Jones. And it's Elias Koteas when he's younger playing Casey Jones. And I got to say, he really got it done well. Where he's a vigilant, or he's a street vigilante, because the cops aren't able to handle shit, you know? You got to know what a crumpet is. Exactly, we're getting to that. And you see him swinging off. He's like, look, I don't want to fight you. Well, tough rocks, pal. And he's swinging, and Raphael's dodging, and then he grabs you like, a Jose Canseco bat. Tell me you didn't pay money for this. And he smacks him, and he's like, what are you, some sort of punker? You know, I hate punkers, especially ones with bald heads and green makeup and he's like, that's it. He's like, whew. So he messes him, and then he hits him, and he's like, Raphael wins 1-0. New game, roundhead. Cricket? Nobody understands cricket. You gotta know what a crumpet is to understand cricket. And then he's like, I'll teach you. Yes, Koteas does, in a way, steal the movie, but he steals just by this much, to be 100% honest, even from an objective standpoint. And then he smacks him, and he's like, later, freak, I got work to do. Well, he fucking pissed off Raphael. Freak! And then he's chasing him, and you see the freaking cab come up, and Raphael roll across the cab, and the guy's like, what the hell is that? Look like a giant turtle in a trench coat. You're going to LaGuardia, right? It's like, yeah, get the hell out. Or, the way that they reacted, like, looked like a giant turtle in a trench coat. You're going to LaGuardia, right? As if they have seen weirder shit, you know? It was just so freaking perfect. It was perfectly sold, that part. He's like, get back here. I'm not finished with you. And then, as a wide shot of New York City at night, damn! Freaking Raphael's freaking damn count 3. And it's like, or when he comes home, Splinter is waiting for him, and he consoles Raph. He tells him that his anger, unlike his brothers, he's unique, that he turns his anger inward, and that Splinter's tried to channel his anger, but more remains. And he doesn't want him to turn his anger inward because it is an unconquerable enemy. He's trying to teach him a valuable lesson. And when you are facing this enemy, always remember, do not forget your brothers, and do not forget me, your father. I am here, my son. And he's consoling him. And you hear Raphael, he is crying about it. Wizjiz, good to see you. Hell, how you doing, buddy? And, or wise guys, Wizjiz, whatever. Oh, cripe, here we go with another freaking bot. Really getting sick of these idiots. I mean, it's like they just come out of nowhere, you know? Wise guys, Wizjiz, I'm sorry, wise guys. Namaste, or mea culpa. So then we get to April questioning the boss, or April's boss, at her apartment. And we notice that her boss Charles has his son Danny there. Well, Danny, you saw, was one of the kids in the same shirt earlier that day, or the actual day before, And he's not listening to his dad. He robs April. And Charles is basically trying to tell April, or her boss is trying to tell her to not go so hard on the chief of police because he's already got the mayor breathing down his neck. And she's like, well, he's got explaining to do, you know? Now, during the press conference, Chief is trying to tell him that we're doing all that we can to try, or with redeployment schedules and yada yada. And the turtles are watching it. And that's when Raphael goes out again because he knows exactly where to find her so that he can get his Psy back. He really wants his Psy back. But while she's talking about the Foot Clan, well, then you see Shredder's reaction, where he throws a knife directly at one of the TVs. And then he turns, find her, silence her. He doesn't want the exposure. But, yeah, too late. So, Chief Stern calls her in, and she's like, time me. And he's like, what do you think? Or what do you think you're trying to accomplish out there? Besides busting my chops? Which version is being discussed? It is the 1991. It is the original live action one. Wise guys. So, yeah. Yeah, I know, right? I'm sorry. That's not exactly how I would spell it, but yeah. Hey, Keely, good to see you. We're doing TMNT, the original live action one from 1990. So, yeah, she's like, I think you know more about what's going on than I do, and I don't think you're doing anything about it. So you want me to chase a few leads from some Japanese immigrants about a story that happened years ago in Japan. Is there anything else? Are you trying to tell me how to do my job? And then she gets out, and the guy who's timing her, 107, a new record. So then she leaves, and she gets down to the subway where she missed the train. You hear a little bit of whoosh behind her, and you see that the Foot Clan has some of the ninjas waiting for her. And she's like, what? Am I behind on my Sony payments again? And one of the ninjas is like, your mouth may yet get you into trouble, Miss O'Neill, and I'm here to deliver a message. And he slaps her, and he's like, shut it. Well, she pulls the Psy that she got from Raph, unbeknownst. And he kicks the Psy out of her hand. The foot soldier does. So she tries smacking a couple of them with her bag, and one of them slugs her out. Now, if you've seen that, or if you saw this in a movie nowadays, I'd be pretty freaking shocked because of you can't hit a woman. Yep, Jade Shadow, good to see you. You missed that part, but yeah. You got to understand, you got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket. I love that line. And it's good to see it, Jade. So then Raphael grabs it, or you see his hand grab his Psy, and then he just goes off on the Foot Clan, kicking their ass. Now, in this specific scene, you know that this is, or when they do, you find out, if you have an analytical eye, that when they start doing the action scenes, it's a guy with a set facial expression, where it is Raphael, well, one lip is up like this, and it's like really kind of kicking ass. It's an action face, you know? And that's when you know that his mouth isn't moving, but you can hear him going, fighting noises. Please be sure to smash that like button. Yes, thank you, wise guys. So, yeah, share the stream out if you can. I really do appreciate it. It's helping, or I reached my end of the year goal, but now I have a new goal before the end of this year, 1,000 subs and at least 3,000 hours. So I'll help with the content. I just need the watchers, you know, and the subs. So, yes. We then get to, or he kicks their butts. He picks April up, and as the train comes by, he slips behind the train, but one of the ninjas decides to follow him, and he notices that, or he tracks Raphael to his lair, or to their hideout. And I love the acting of of April meeting the turtles and Splinter. She's like, "Oh my god, I'm dead, or I'm dreaming. I must be dreaming. That rat, I saw you in the subway. That explains you. And those guys in the purple pajamas, they jumped me. But you guys, I don't know where you came from." She's freaking out, and she's like, so Splinter tries to basically explain everything, and he's like, "If you would please calm down, it's quite simple. I'll explain where we came. Why can't I ever dream of Harrison Ford?" But I also do like, before she wakes up, freaking Michelangelo, "Can we keep her?" It's like, and it's hilarious when he's like, "Can we keep her?" It's the news lady. The way that they react, you actually think that these kids are 15 years old, but it's obviously adults doing the acting. So he explains a small bit of the where they were in the sewer. He was scrounging for food, and then he saw 4 baby turtles who were playing in an ooze. The origin story. Now, this is where a continuity mistake happens if I was doing a review of both Secrets of the Ooze and this one, because the TGRI one from the second movie versus the ooze container in the first one are different. So while they're explaining this, you see the foot soldier is outside the door watching, and then he slips away. So we then get to hold on a minute. We then get to April getting escorted home, and you see Michelangelo and them joking around, having fun. He's like, or they're like, "Well, I do," or "If you got," or "Do you guys go for that sort of thing?" And you hear her mention pizza, and you freaking see Michelangelo just zip up. "Let's go for it. You said the magic word. You guys eat pizza? Doesn't everybody?" "So what do you like on your pizza?" "Oh, the usual. Flies, stink bugs." Hey, it was a joke. So you hear him busting jokes and impressions and whatnot. And then they have to get going because Splinter's around. But then they get back home. The place is wrecked. Splinter's gone. And you see how they react. You see Donatello fall to his knees. He is looking visibly distraught. Raphael, the way that they circle the camera around him when he does a scream of rage, it really is powerful acting. Even though these are animatronics, mouths and whatnot, you can feel the emotion coming off these guys, or coming out of these characters. It is truly that good of acting. And then it pulls out of a sewer where you see an older gentleman walking by, shaking his head. It's like, "I'm staying away from that. This is creepy, hearing screaming in a sewer, And then they return back to April's, and they're visibly distraught, and she's like, "What's wrong?" "Splinter." And so they're staying at her place. Well, overnight, then Charles shows up, and she's like, "Who is it?" "It's Charles." "It's my boss. Could you guys do a," and you hear the, she's like, "Could you guys hide?" They're all gone. And he comes in with his son, and he tells April to find a different story. She's like, "It's my story. No way." "Well, look at you. You're exhausted." And she's like, "Hey, Danny, could you tell your dad to relax?" "I wish." And Danny actually catches Mikey in the mirror. And now, on the final episode of Anohana, it's pretty sad. I'm sorry to hear that. So then you see Danny looking for Mikey, and you see her in the bathroom, and you see one of the turtles is in her bathtub behind the shower curtain, and she's like, "Could you hand me a towel?" And he's like, "Where do you keep the towels?" She's like, "Oh, yeah, no, what's wrong?" "I just don't want you to see my unsightly bathtub ring. Now out. Out, 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 out." And you see that one up hanging on the ceiling, and you hear, and she's like, I have to get ready for work. Well, just don't push any more buttons today, okay? And this is after, or in between these two scenes, the last one and the one, you see that Danny got arrested when she was getting timed talking to Stearns. And Stearns calls his father, basically, do you got a son named Danny, Charles? Basically, you realize that this is leverage to use against O'Neill to get her to back off. So it does make you wonder, is Stearns in the pocket of the Foot? But it does kind of lend a little bit of or a little bit of suspicion there, you know? He's using his weight to push around the news to get them to back off the questions. What is Stearns exactly hiding? Well, now that she's giving a full interview of her account of her being mugged and her story about the Foot, and as soon as she mentions the Foot who operated years ago in Japan, where she was talking with immigrants from Japan who said that this has happened in Japan, you then see her boss, Charles. He's like, oh, God, no. And somebody's like, sir, it's Chief Stearns on the line. Paddington, I thought we had a deal. And he's holding it away because police chief is screaming through the damn phone. And you see the turtles are watching the news as she thanks Raphael. And he's blushing, and you see Donatello, and he's like, hey, I think he's blushing. I am not. I think he's actually turning red. Throws one of the sides. Maybe not. So he's itching to get out there and look for a Splinter, and Leo's trying to tell him, he's like, there's nothing we can do right now. What can we do about it? Well, so that's a plan from a great leader, huh? Just sit here on our butts. So Leo and Raphael have it out, and Raphael, he's like, well, maybe I'll just take my attitude and leave. Good. I will. Why don't you? We don't need you. It's a fight out there, and then you see him say, damn, again. And it's like, holy crap. But before this happens, or before this scene happens, you see the Foot Clan headquarters, how you see a 15-year-old kid smoking a humongous cigar, the disenfranchised youth who are being used by the Foot. You see the Foot Clan training, and you see Tatsu training one of them because he's a higher prospect. And then you hear the gong ring, and we get introduced to the Shredder. This is one of the best freaking introductions I have ever seen when it comes to Shredder, where he is coming in. He's walking in. The score is just, it sounds evil, you know? And Jim Henson made the Turtles for the movie. Yes, he did, and he did a wonderful job with it. And when you see Shredder come in, you see Tatsu unfurl his cape around the blades or his shoulder blades. And then you see him looking around, and you see the Foot unfurl a mat before him. And he tells him, money cannot buy the honor that you have earned tonight. Where he is given a mask, where he puts it on the mask and gives the headband known as the Dragon Dogi. Loyalty, honor, discipline, these are what you need and to wear the Dragon Dogi, and I want you all to be members of the Foot. And then there's a new enemy, and you are my eyes and ears. Find them, and together we will punish these creatures, these turtles. And you could see the anger of which he is pissed off about these freaks of nature, you know. You also see that Splinter is strung or is chained up, listening to what he is or what Shredder is saying. And the design of him is purely from the show, the comics. However, it looks more realistic. You actually see that the helmet is more flared in the back. I mean, this is something that is strictly, they did very well displaying, you know? And I really do love the design work of Shredder. I'm like, I can believe this. This is believable. So then we get to them because Danny ends up ratting out the turtles because he has seen one at April's house, you know? And so that's when April gives her full account. And as Raphael, after arguing with Leo, is venting his anger on the rooftop, you see Casey Jones trying to tune a radio and then seeing Raphael, and he's like, oh, I know that guy. And then you see Raphael looking over the roof, and you see the Foot Clan sneaking up behind him. And then April comes home, and Mikey's like, hey, great job. And she's like, thanks, Mikey. She called me Mikey. And people say Cobra Kai Sensei is tough. Oh, dude, if Cobra Kai Sensei went up against Shredder, he'd slaughter him. So the cutting back between, she's like, where's Raphael? And they're hoping that there's any insight on the Foot. And she's using her connections to try to get anything. She's like, don't worry, I told anybody to call me as soon if anything came into the station. So she wants to show them the store. And in between, they're cutting between Raphael getting ambushed, and they throw his size away. So I'm wondering how he gets him back. But anyway, they never really do explain that. So he's like, so you guys must have studied the abridged art of ninja fighting. And he's kicking their butts. And he's like, come on, how do you guys expect to beat me? Well, a bunch of them start coming in. Good answer. Good answer. And then you see him in the next cut back and forth, he's getting his ass kicked. They're starting to truly beat into him and lay into him. And he's getting dragged downstairs. He's getting thrown around. Raphael is truly getting his ass kicked. And so while they're playing around in the antique store below where she lives, because her father, or she had it after her father, and she wanted to keep the store going. And you see Leo's playing with a book or playing with something, and you see Mikey's like, shh, and he has the I can't remember what they're called, but they're the ones that make really loud noises. I can't remember what they're called. But he blasts them in the back of Leo, and Leo's like, ah! It's just so hilarious. Best movie in the scene, Raph taking on the Foot and then getting thrown through the roof, intercut with everything else, and the Casey Jones perspective shots. Yes, exactly. Now, that's one of the things I like about this movie is because it is so gritty, you actually see one of the turtles getting his ass kicked. In the cartoons, you always see that they're the ones doing the butt kicking. You barely see. It's only when certain episodes where you see that they lose. But it's always good that when you're telling a story like this, you have to see the heroes struggle. You have to see them get their butts, or have to see them retreat or fall back. You know, you can't have the heroes just be perfect and whatnot. You got to have the hero struggle. And this movie actually does a wonderful job. These are teenagers, remember. So the Foot Clan then invades her apartment after they throw Raphael through the roof. And you see one of the chuckers come in, do a swoosh with his nunchucks, and you see Michael, fellow chucker, eh? So he does a couple of flourishes with his, and it's a nice little contest. And you see, honestly, I would give it over to the Foot Clan, because he was, or the Foot Soldier with the with the nunchucks. He was doing some pretty good swishes and whatnot. And then you see Michelangelo, his is just spinning. He's like, keep practicing, dude. And then we get into the fight with them fighting. And you see how well they're handling the fight. And then they call in for some bucentos, which are axes. and they're trying to get the turtles, but they're hitting the floor. It's like, good thing these guys aren't lumberjacks. You know, junk. The only thing safe in the woods would be in the trees. And then you see Donatello looking up. He's like, hey, guys, I know that you guys aren't doing well, but this is not a good time, structurally speaking, of course, for your friends to drop in. Well, they drop in, and they're getting ready to fight, and then you hear the creaking. Uh-oh. And they all fall through. Well, then you see even more reinforcements from Tatsu telling them to attack. And they're getting their butts kicked a little bit, and then you see another light come on. And you see Casey Jones. He's like, any one of you guys want to tell me what you're doing with my little green pal over there? Whoa, who is the babe? And it's like, who the heck is that? So they go after Casey. Well, Casey's handling these foot soldiers pretty well. I mean, ninjas versus a vigilante, that's pretty dang good. Batman level almost. And so they escape through a trapdoor in the basement. And Casey Jones is covering them, and he hears a call from Charles. Charles just fired April. I know this must come as a blow. Now, at first when I was younger, I thought he said, I know this concept blows. Well, now that I know what he said, and I'm like, I know this must come as a blow, I'm like, yeah. Okay, it was a nice little learning, as you see after a few years, you know? And then the cord cracks or snaps, and the machine falls on one of the foot soldiers' heads. You can say that again, Chuck. So then Casey Jones escapes, and they're all pulling away because a fire has started in the place when one of the foot soldiers smacked or sliced one of the cords to the power box with an axe. And they're driving away, and the van is a direct call back or shout out to the cartoon, where you see the okay, I was about to say, where you see the cartoon van is similar because it's a Volkswagen van. And then you see after they drive away, you see April is looking onto her apartment building, and you see Danny is heartbroken. He's like, I didn't want this to happen. You know, he's realizing the consequences of his actions of turning in the turtles. Well, then you see Shredder walking in, and he smacks Splinter. And he's like, what are these freaks? How do they know how to fight like this? And then he tries to get Splinter to answer by putting a blade under him. He's like, you will answer. Well, then hang there until you die. And then he sees Tatsu, and Tatsu puts his head down in shame, and he starts taking his frustrations out on members of the Foot Clan. And the one that just received the honor tries stopping him from attacking one of the others, and he gets his ass handed to him and knocked out. And Tatsu walks away in shame again. So you see the van pull into a country house, and the chemistry between Judith Hogue and Elias Koteas is actually very good, because they play very well off of each other, kind of as a lover's quarrel kind of bit, but it's not quite there yet. They can't stand each other, but the love or the infatuations with each other is palpable. So when they're arguing and whatnot, you really see how well they do it. So then we get to the narration of April. And one of the things I really like is how it goes from a reporter narrative to a journal narrative, where she's writing in a journal of how they've suffered their first defeat. And she's cataloging their experiences of how Donnie and Casey Donnie has found somebody to latch onto, which is Casey. and they're trading insults in alphabetical order, which is pretty freaking hilarious. Talking about Gilligan's Island, of all things, while they're trying to transplant the engine from the van into a truck, or into a Volkswagen truck, I believe it is. And I just love how he's like, "What letter are we on? G. Well, here we go, Gackface. I'm ready, hose brain." And they accidentally run through the damn door to the barn. He's like, "It worked." And then you see Leonardo keeping a vigil over Raphael, and Raphael's kind of in a tub full of water, helping out a turtle, for recovery, I guess. But they don't really show what Michelangelo's doing, and that's something I'm like, really? Fucking really? With these damn Paul McDaniel. I don't like trolls, so be gone. And then we get, Casey and April's Mr. Fix-It. And he's like, or she's looking for Donatello. And he's like, they're out there sparring or something, I don't know. And she's like, I just need a little help. And he's like, "Oh, I'm your man. I'm Mr. Fix-It. Lead the way, Toots." Toots? Babe? You gonna throw me a bone here? I'm drowning. You know what? Princess. I'll take care of it. Well, fine. Don't come looking for me or anymore. I wouldn't ask for your help if you were the last thing on the face of this planet. And he's laying on the porch swing. And he's like, I think it's going wrong rather nicely, chewing on the apple. And that's when the porch swing falls. And she says he's a 9-year-old in a boy's body. I know. It's freaking, it's annoying as hell. But I've never had bot problems before until like a couple weeks ago. And then they just start fucking coming out everywhere. And then we get to Raphael waking up. And he's like, what does somebody got to do to get some food around here? And Leo tries apologizing to Raph, and Raph's like, don't. It's fine, dude. And while they're back together in the training, it's still not, they're still not whole because Splinter's still not there. We then see Tatsu talking to Shredder. And he's like, they haven't been seen for many days. Why do the turtles trouble you? They haven't been seen for many days. What of the rat? He still won't speak. And the boy who led us to the turtles, he's still missing. And Tatsu asks him, why do the turtles trouble you? They haven't been seen for many days. Something in the way you describe in their fighting, something familiar, something from the past. Well, then we see Danny talking to, or we see that Danny has also talked to Splinter earlier, where he's like, or where he tells him, he's like, my father couldn't care less about me. I doubt that is true. I'm a friendly air. You could talk to me. He's like, why? Well, or he tells him, I doubt that very much that your father doesn't care less about you. All fathers care for their sons. And then the boy runs away and whatnot. So after Leo tries meditating, he feels Splinter, and Splinter is shackled up, and you see him put his head up and say Leonardo, and he realized, holy crap, it works. So he goes in while they're talking, or while the other three are playing a board game. I believe it's a Trivial Pursuit. What Russian novel was set, or which was 500 characters, was set during the Napoleonic Wars? War and Peace. And then Leo comes in. He's alive. Of course he is, Leo. We all think he's alive. I don't think. I know. And he takes him out to have a fire. And he's like, Leo, if you dragged us out here for nothing, don't worry. I came prepared. And he's cooking up a few marshmallows and he's laughing around. And Leo tells him, put those away. Now everybody concentrate hard. And they all start to meditate. And that's when you see the fire start to flicker and then burn brightly with blue flames. And you see a ghostly image of Splinter. where he's telling them they've mastered their final lesson, which is discipline of the mind, and that how he is proud of them and how he loves them. It is a very emotional scene because even now I'm actually getting a little bit of teared up just talking about it, where he tells them, draw on each other, use each other as your strength. This is your strength. And always remember that I will always love you, my sons. And you see how emotional Mikey is and how Donatello is and how Raphael, you see the excitement and hope in his eyes. And then he tells April and Casey, they tell him that we got to go back. Now's the time to go back. Now, one of the things about that fire effects is that it was real. Back then, you couldn't fake fire in CGI. It never looks real. So they had to use real blue flames to do that scene. So returning to the city in the sewer, you realize that, well, Casey Jones has claustrophobia. And I love it. He's like, you're a claustrophobic. You want a fist in the mouth? I've never even looked at another guy like that before. He's like, no, what he means is that you're afraid of enclosed spaces. Afraid? Afraid? I'm not afraid. I'm going to go sleep in the truck. And Danny's also in there, and he's like, I had some pizza from a few days ago. It might still be here. And Donatello's like, finds it, and Michelangelo steps up. He's like, question, what? Do you like penicillin on your pizza? And so they start doing taps because they're kind of like a funeral for the pizza. It's funny. I mean, they have some great lines. And then Danny that night is sleeping and he's dreaming about the conflict of what Splinter says and what Shredder is saying. So he gets up and runs off, and Casey ends up following him because Casey sees him escape from the sewer and follows him back to the Foot HQ. Well, then Casey takes one of the foot soldiers' outfits, and Danny is talking with Splinter again. And that's when Splinter conveys to Danny the origin of him and Oroku Saki. And he's like, whatever happened to this Oroku Saki? Nobody knows, but you wear his symbol upon your brow. And then Shredder catches Danny, and he's like, where have you been? Nowhere. You're lying, and you're hiding something as well. And he catches the drawing that April made of Leonardo, and she gave one to Danny. A funeral for a pizza. Yeah, I know. Well, they're teenagers. Loves the sons very much. That's one of the things that's pretty consistent throughout all the versions. Exactly. And yeah, they're like da, 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 da. They celebrate, or they salute and are humming taps basically for the pizza. So he realizes that they're back, and he starts mobilizing the Foot. And he tells them, there will be no more mistakes this time. I'm going myself. And the rat, kill it. Well, Danny overhears this, and Casey comes up to him in a foot soldier thing. He's like, you recognize me now, kid? Come on, I need your help. We have to go. He's like, what are you talking about? They're going to kill Splinter. So he follows him. They find Splinter. He's like, and Casey Jones has a nice introduction to him. Name's Casey Jones. I'm a friend. Well, Tatsu catches them while the Foot is mobilizing through the city into the sewer to go after the turtles. And the turtles kick their ass. He's like, I do hope there's more of them. And or more of them go in, and they're like, wait, what? Because they just saw they find a bunch of their friends completely out cold. Well, then you see Tatsu versus Casey, and Tatsu starts kicking Casey's ass. He's like, a little private team, I cleared that up there. Oh, that's going to cost you, Tinkerbell. Crack. And he gets knocked down again. I don't think that you're listening. And then he gets hit again. He's like, okay, I'm kind of detecting a little bit of a language barrier here. And then he gets his ass kicked again until he sees a driver, a golf club. Well, then he hits Tatsu in the stomach, or pretty much in the groin area. And he's like, 4! Knocks him flying. He's like, I'll never call golf a dull game again. And then you see, or they cut back to the turtles fighting in the sewer against the Foot Clan. And you see Donatello on his skateboard escaping from the lair and riding through the sewers, cracking Foot Clan soldiers as he goes with his staff. And you see Raphael, show off, crack. He's like, mm-hmm. And then you see the Foot Clan crawling out of the sewers trying to escape. He's like, hey, where the heck are you going? You know? And the other kids who are disenfranchised, who haven't earned Foot Clan status yet, are like, why are we just standing there? Let's get him. You want to be next, Tinkerbell? He's like, we have a loyalty to the Shredder. Well, that's when Splinter chimes in. The Shredder is using you. He cares nothing about you or the people you hurt. He only is using you for what he wants. We're family. Family. You call this here and that down there family? Well, then they get over to the city. He's like, so much for family, huh? And you see how the turtles are just kicking ass. And you see Mikey giving off shell puns. He's like, hey, these guys must be suffering from shell shock. Too derivative. Donatello's like, too derivative. Well, then he does another one. Too cliche. And he's like, well, you got to admit, it was a shell of a good hit. I like it. Step up. And they keep on, they make their way up to the top of the building, and Michelangelo's, hey, wait for me. And you get your first turtle duck through back into the shell move, because one of the foot soldiers swings an axe at him, and he then cracks him. God, I love being a turtle. And then he goes up, and they make their way to the rooftop and kicking the rest of their butts. And they're like, oh, no more? And that's when the Shredder comes in. And they're like, what the heck is that? Can opener? On steroids? And so he's like, you fight well in the old style, but now you face the Shredder. The Shredder must be a coleslaw kind of guy or something or around there. And so Raphael is like, I got him. And then Raphael goes after him, and Shredder quickly dispatches him. This guy's good. And he's like, well, why don't you go next? Thank you. And Leo then easily gets dispatched. And so Donatello and Michelangelo match you for it. So they play paper, rock, scissors, and Donatello loses. And he's like, damn. And Michelangelo's like, great. He didn't want to fight him, but Donatello did. And he's like, and you hear Michelangelo like go, whoa, getting ready to go after Shredder. Well, that's when Casey and them show up, and he's like, or they all look up. He's like, looks like your boys are going to need. He looks down to see if Splinter's there. Well, Splinter's gone. He's like, where'd he go? Mm-hmm. And you then see that they're all breathing heavy, and Shredder's in the background waiting for them. And they're like, so in what point did we exactly lose control here? Maybe somebody should tell him that we're the good guys. Any thoughts? I only have one thought. This guy knows where Splinter is. And that causes Shredder to react. And then they all four go at him. And you hear the music start swelling up. And you hear, and Casey steps in to take care of any leftover Foot Clan members. See how serious the turtles are going. You see Donatello giving his all. And he loses his bow, but he's still attacking Shredder. But Shredder is still holding the upper hand. You see Michelangelo going. They're actually going a lot better at him. You see Raphael going full tilt, doing a jump kick, and or getting his butt kicked. But then Leonardo actually scores a couple of cuts on Shredder, both arms, and you see Shredder react after he gets him away. And they're like, and as they're backing up, he's like, where's Splinter? Ah, the rat. It has a name. It had a name. He's using psychological warfare. He's riling him up. You lie, do I? And so Leonardo, in anger, attacks Shredder, and Shredder gets him down, pinned, and he's like, he dies. Weapons now. And they all throw their weapons over, and you see one nunchuck get caught on the ladder. And he tells him, you're fools. The three of you might have overpowered me with the loss of but one, but now your fate will be his. And they're ready to kill him. So as they're screaming no, you hear a whoosh, and then Shredder looks up and sees Splinter there. Well, Leonardo takes this moment to get away from Splinter. He's like, yes, Oroku Saki, I know your name. We met many years ago in the house of my master, Amato Yoshi. And the story that he told Danny was how Amato Yoshi Oroku Saki killed Amato Yoshi, his master. And after he killed his master, Splinter got free and clawed up Shredder's face. So when Shredder pulls off his mask, you see the claws, or you see the massive scars on his face where Splinter had attacked him. And also Amato or Shredder had taken a swipe at Splinter with his katana, cutting off part of his ear. And he's like, now I will finish what I began with your ear. Well, he charges Splinter. Splinter takes the nunchucks that Mikey tossed and trips over Oroku over the edge of the building, and he's holding his spear with the nunchucks, and he's telling him death comes for us all. But those who lack, but a worse fate will come for you. And while Shredder's listening, he tries grabbing a knife and throwing it at Splinter, which he then catches. And he's like, when you die, it will be, and then he lets it go to catch the knife without honor. And he falls into the back of the garbage truck, and you then see Casey Jones go up to the garbage truck's masher and go, oops! And he activates the masher, crushing Shredder's helmet, which is another inconsistency later on in the second movie because you actually see the helmet is there. But basically, essentially, they think that the Shredder is dead. And the boys are comforting Splinter. And they're like, we're awesome. And they're doing their celebration. And Splinter comes up, I have always liked Cowabunga. And they all do their Cowabunga. And before that, you have the human side of the story being resolved. Casey the police are catching up to the scene. They're catching up all the ninjas, and they catch up to the kids. They're like, I want to know what in God's name happened here tonight. Somebody better talk to me. The old warehouse of Staten Island. You'll find your answers there. And Charles and April are talking to each other. You can have a corner office. You can have or I'm sorry, you can get a raise. You'll have a corner office. She's also one of the highest paid reporters in New York. Now you are. You are a tough negotiator, Charles. And he's like, uh-huh. Basically, he's groveling to have her back so that she can cover the story. And then Casey Jones is like, hey, she's like, Casey, I'm a little bit, and I was like, I look like I just called Mike Tyson a sissy because he's kind of beat up a little bit. And she's like, well, do you need me to get it? He's like, no, will you shut up and kiss me? I have a report to do. I love it when you're pushy. Yeah. And they kiss each other, and you hear the turtles up on the roof, and then they do their celebratory Cowabunga thing, and you hear Splinter, I made a funny. And I love the music because in the music, you actually hear that Raphael is the leader of the group in this one. And I'm like, it's kind of contradictory to what the movie suggests, which is Leonardo is the leader of them. But yeah, and we roll credits. Now, this movie does have its problems. There's inconsistencies. There's its fair share of stuff. But for the most part, objectively, this movie is around an 8. Back then, they did what they did, and they did it well. You can see that the animatronics don't always work the same, or don't always work with the movement of the mouse very well. But they do a good job with what they had. The voice talent and the casting, the directing, all very well done. So yes, 8 or 7.5 to 8 out of 10 objectively. Subjectively, it's 10 out of 10. Ninja Turtles is always going to be one of my favorite childhood movies. And I think that it is truly one of the greater ones because it's more gritty and darker. Those scars are cool. I've seen a picture of Shredder in the movie, at least. Awesome, right? But yes, moviegoer, if you like action and comedy and wittiness, this movie is definitely a 9 to a 10 out of 10. Its pacing is great. Once they kick off, they really don't stop. It's a roller coaster of a film. Now, as for the hints for next week, I got 2 hints for another great movie from my childhood. The hints are Green Eyes and 3 Storms. If you know it, don't spoil it. But definitely thank you all for tuning in. Riot, Jade, Dan Blackroyd, Metalong, Wise Guys, who else? Junebug. Thank you all for tuning in to this. I really do appreciate all the support. Again, my goal for the end of this year, shake the pillars of it. You know exactly what movie it is. Too easy. Yeah, I know some people who actually won't be able to guess it, but definitely these are 2 easier hints. So, yes, you know exactly what it is, Dan Blackroyd. Good, or very good guessing on it. But yes, that is indeed going to be next week's mystery review. Shake the Pillars of Heaven is a line in the movie. So, yes, stay tuned. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subs by the end of the year. Thank you so much. Have a good day, Riot. I will continue getting your hours up as best as I can. 3,000 hours is my goal for the end of the year, and 1,000 subs, folks. Try to get me there as best as you can, folks. I really do appreciate all the support. Thank you so much. Have a happy new year. Hope you're all having a happy new year so far. I'm now going to go downstairs and watch the new Ghostbusters movie because I just bought it on digital and I am going to get the hard copy later on today. So thank you all so much for being here. And yes, they are truly excellent movies. Thank you so much. This has been Orange Hat Reviews. If you're catching this on the replay, like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your favorite part of this film, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the 90s. And always remember, folks, to stay humble.